Hello and thank you for joining me today. Today I'm sharing with you a tiny little mixed media, I guess I'll say canvas, that I created inspired by December's art recipe from Finnabair. There's a peek of it there and some of the colors that I used. A little bit of a close-up. You can see there's lots of little sparkly wintry bits. And let's get started. So I started with a resin piece that I created using a Prima redesign mold, and I'm just backing it with a piece of heavy cardstock and some 6x6 Prima pattern paper. I'm not sure which collection it is. It will be linked in the description box below. So while you're there, if you can go ahead and give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing, that would be greatly appreciated. But back to this canvas. So I'm just going to adhere these two together, and that's just to give this little canvas a little bit of stability, because it's not really a canvas, it's just a piece, it's just a resin frame. So I'm going to adhere that together, and you'll see me do that in just a second. I'm going to use some 3D gloss gel for that. Maybe I don't show you that, but I did it, I swear. I promise it didn't fall apart. But as tiny as this little canvas is, sometimes I think it's even harder sometimes to work with something this small, because it honestly took me a long time to figure out what I was going to put where, and it took me a long time to stop because I didn't realize when it was done. And so sometimes smaller is not always an easier project. Just food for thought. Anyhow, so as you can see, I'm pulling out some flowers. I love my flowers. I need to use more flowers because I have a hoard of flowers in my room. But so I'm pulling out my flowers. I'm not too concerned with the colors of the flowers because I'm sure they're going to get coats of gesso and lots of color, but I wanted to try to keep them in the same kind of color family. Speaking of gesso, here's some clear gesso that I'm going to go ahead and add to all the pieces that I'm using, including my flowers. I like to do this to the flowers whenever I am using a lot of medium. So if I'm using mist or paint or any kind of watercolor, I like to give my flowers a bit of gesso just so they stand up to the mediums a little bit better. That's just my preference. Oh, and I always like to rip those green things off. I don't like those green things. Some of them get stay on because I'm afraid I'm going to rip the flower, but I like to rip those green things off. The leaves, I guess. Anyhow. So more gesso, and now I'm going to try and remember how I had all those little bits and pieces put together. I'm adhering everything here with heavy body gel just because it's an addiction. It's my preference. It's what I use. It's what I recommend. It's not like hot glue. It's not going to fall apart and pop off your wall, pop off of a canvas that you made years and years ago. Anyways, just gel. Stick with it. It's good. I promise. Anywho, just placing my flowers around, trying to decide where this is going to go. And like I said, it just takes a while. So bear with me. I'm sure you've all been here. I just like to show everybody start to finish, because when I say start to finish, I want to show you what I did. So I'm getting everything in place, and I used the thicker flower there because it held the moon in place good. Now you can see I added 2 buttons there for my focal point because I wanted my star to be higher than the moon because it is the focal point of the canvas. And I'm not too concerned about them being different colors because you're not really going to see them anyhow. But I always do like to use buttons when I'm trying to build up a focal point. It's an easy thing to do, and we all have 5,000 buttons in our rooms. I can't even imagine how many buttons I have in this room. And I'm sure that I will someday somehow even buy more buttons. I don't even know why. Someone will give me buttons too, but I digress. So I'm just adding a little bit of white gesso here just to tone down the flowers a little bit, because at this point in time I'm not 100% sure of how much color I'm going to use and what colors I'm going to use. So I'm adding white gesso to make everything a little bit more cohesive before I add color. The colors, and next I'm adding some white crackle paste, and I like to do that before I add my color because I love the way the crackle paste takes color. So I'm just using a spatula to add the white crackle paste around randomly, just here and there, just to give it a little bit of texture and kind of add to the wintry feel. Now I'm adding ice, I believe it's called Ice Queen, maybe. Again, it will be linked in the description box below, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up while you're there, please. Pretty please. Anywho, so I did dilute that paint a little bit before I added it to the canvas with water, and then I probably am going to spray some water on there again just to make it move a little bit more. Next was French Lavender. See again the water, and then you'll see me spritz it again to make the color move just a little bit more. I like to do this just because I get more of a watercolor look with the shimmer, but I still get the control, and it's permanent, so yay! So now I'm just going to continue to dry this color before I add my next color, which is Silver Spoon. I'm going to add some water and continue the process, just paint it on like watercolor. And I just like to do this with my acrylics because it gives me the look of watercolor, but it's permanent and I still have a little bit more control. So here I am, and I'm just painting away. And looking at it now, I'm realizing, yeah, it is too dark, and I realize that when I start drying it here. And I'll fix it. It turns out pretty good in the end, in my humble opinion. But I'm drying it, and I'm taking a little bit longer to dry it because I'm not really sure, and I really want to make sure that it's dry, and it's not. See, the star popped off. I will get that back into place, I promise. But here I've decided how I'm going to fix the fact that I've made it too dark. I'm adding a little bit of white heavy gesso, and I'm just dry brushing that on. And now, right now, I'm really thankful that I added the clear gesso to those flowers because they are taking a beating. And they're holding up. So I'm just going to continue adding white gesso until I'm happy with it, the brightness. I'm brightening it up. So I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm just working off my mat because I keep like getting colors into my gesso, and I am trying really hard not to do that. So I'm going to try to work off my mat. So you'll see me do that a lot. Now I'm adding rose gold. My rose gold unfortunately is kind of dried up, and I really don't know how I let it dry up because I love my Opal Magics. And they should not be dried up because I absolutely love them. But it is a little bit dry, so I just add a little bit of Finn's liquid fluid acrylic or acrylic. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I just add a little bit of that, and it's perfect. Everything comes back to life. The paint's great. It's the right texture. Life is good. So if all else fails, just make sure. I'm digging it out now. Liquid color fluid medium. That is a must have. I wish it came in a bigger bottle because that I will run out of. Anyways, I'm digressing. So I'm got those buttons in place. I'm building up my focal point, and I'm just adding the rose gold. And actually, I've moved on to blue gold, another Opal Magic, because the Opal Magics are a bit of an addiction for me. It's almost like a wax. It's a guilty kind of pleasure, and I have a hard time stopping using them. But I do like the way that I do like what they added to this project. So I'm just randomly touching the leaves of the petals, and I'm just going to keep going, adding a little water, making it move around. Now, the only tiny wings that I had left were a really dark metallic color, so I just added some silver on top of them for my focal point. And that little tiny star on top, another one of the tiny barnyard stars from the mold, from Finn's Mould. And I'm going to work on, I think, the snowflakes next, but I'm having a hard time making sure that star's straight because I don't really have anything to gauge it off of. So all my snowflakes are random snowflakes from God knows what. It could be Kaisercraft, it could be Studio Calico, it could be Wow chipboard, it could be Creative Embellishments. I have a mix of chipboards, and when I just have these tiny little pieces left, they get thrown in a bin, and it's actually, my husband gave it to me from the garage. And I just have all the same little tiny pieces in it. So I honestly, I'm sorry, I have no idea what that chipboard is from. But I'm sure you guys have a snowflake chipboard if you want one in your house somewhere. Or you can make one. But sorry, I have no idea what those are. So now I'm just adding some more white gesso over top of everything, and this is just kind of like to highlight things. It's not to lighten it up any. I'm just trying to add some tiny highlights just to bring out the details of the canvas. Okay, I'm just dry brushing, just touching the tops, and then I'm going to touch the top of the wings. Sorry for my reach. More gel to try to glue everything in place. Now I'm going to fuss with those wings and try to get them straight. I'm probably not going to get them straight. I have such a hard time getting things straight. And then when they are straight, I still think they're not straight. But that's just me. I hope it's just me. So the one thing that I really wish I would have done is I wish I would have put something on the back of this canvas to make it a little bit easier to hang, because when I did hang it up, it was kind of tricky. But so maybe next time I'll remember that. Now I'm just making the star purple because I've decided that I want more purple in this little canvas. I want that to bring out the purple. So there that is. Next, I am going to add more rose gold because now I'm thinking, oh, I put too much gesso on that, and I want to make that more gold. Bringing out the blue Opal Magic Rose Gold, blue gold Opal Magic in the wings, and giving it a quick dry before I go on to the next thing. Now I'm adding my snowflakes. So my snowflakes I covered with white pearl, and they are heavily covered with white pearl. That's why they look like they have a little bit of texture on them. I'm just trying to figure out where I want them. Like I said, you know, just because it's tiny, you think that it would just be like, boom. No, I fussed and tucked and pulled this thing apart so many times. And this is even sped up a little bit. So this tiny little canvas took a while. You second guess yourself a lot when you don't have a lot of room and you want to put more on. It's hard to stop. Just stop sometimes. Sometimes less is more, and I really have to remind myself of that. But anyhow, I'm tucking these little snowflakes in, and probably because, you know, I spent the time making these snowflakes, I'm going to get them in this darn canvas, right? But, so I'm tucking them in, little tiny snowflakes. Here they go. And now I'm going to add some snowflake paste. Now this I haven't really used very often. As you can tell, my container is pretty full. And it's actually started to dry out a little bit because I used it once or twice and then I never used it again. Because then I bought it and I didn't craft for a while after I bought it. I really do like what it does. It looks kind of like just like glittery snow. It's really pretty. It's, you know, for the right project, and this is the right kind of project for that. But so I go a little crazy with the snowflake paste, and I'm just using a paintbrush and I'm just dabbing it on there a little bit everywhere, and you can see I'm just going a little bit heavy with that. And I did make sure that everything was 100% dry before I did that, because I didn't want to cross-contaminate and have blue or purple in my snowflake paste, because that would have been not good. And I've done that to pretty much every medium that I have. And I'm really, really trying not to do that. But everything was dry at this point in time, so I was safe. So I'm just adding snowflake paste everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Okay. And then I remembered, oh, this little star here, I should make it look like a cloud. And that's what I did, because I remember thinking, oh, it looks like a little cloud around the star. So now I'm just going to bring in a tiny bit of glitter, and I'm going to tap that right into the snowflake paste. While it does have its own little glitter, I wanted more. And now I'm adding 3D gloss gel with a little bit of crystal beads. And you can't really see the crystal beads because they're clear, but that's what I'm adding in these spots. And I'm just adhering them into the gel. Round and round about. There we go. Lots and lots of little beads. And now this sticker I did put on a piece of cardstock. It's one of Miriam's stickers, and it just says Dream. But I wasn't 100% sure where I was going to stick that, but it's just on cardstock, and I just cut it to fit. See, just playing with it, can't figure out where it's going to go. But then you see I've placed it. And now that it's dry, you can see all my sparkle and shimmer and shine and glittery bits and bubbles. Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for sticking around. Again, if you can give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing, I'd greatly appreciate it. You have a wonderful day, and see you next time.